Blessed day, guys, and peace be upon you this morning. So in this video, we're going to learn how to configure dynamic network address translation or NAT using Cisco Packet Tracer. Just like in the previous video, we learned how to configure static NAT, okay? And we were using this router as the NAT server to translate the private IP address into the public IP address, okay? Alright, so you have to make sure that for you to access the internet, then you have to use the public IP address. You cannot access the internet via the private IP address. That's why NAT is here, okay? Alright, so I'll open our Google spreadsheet and let you know that today we're in number 13, part 2, dynamic network address translation, okay? Alright. So as you can see, this diagram here is the same diagram that I used in the previous configuration of static NAT, okay? And I'll just open our notepad to start the steps. So the first step is always to draw the topology. We decorate and comment. So as you can see, I have a topology consisting of how many routers? 2 routers, 1 switch, 2 computers, and a server, okay? Alright, and I made the comments like this one. The network between the 2 routers is this one. The network in this LAN is this one, and the network here is this one, okay? Alright, and this one is the NAT router, okay? Alright, make sure you're using 2911 router switch, okay? Okay, so the second step is to configure IP address to the router's interfaces and configure OSPF. So guys, I have already configured IP addresses to these interfaces and the computer. So for example, this is gig 01 and this is gig 00. So if I try to hover over there, you can see gig 00 is 200.150.1/24, while gig 01 is 192.168.20.1/24. So the IP address of gig 01 here is the default gateway of these computers. You can see that is 192.168.20.10, and the default gateway is that one. When I hover over this router here, you can see the gig 00 is 200.150.20/24, okay? And the gig 01 is 888.1, which is the default gateway of the Google web server, which has an IP address of 8888, okay? Alright, so we're being told here to configure OSPF, okay? We need to configure OSPF because we have 2 routers. When we have 2 routers, we have to advertise the routes. So I'll just go to this router, come to CLI, and I say enable config T, and we just say router OSPF, let's say 45, okay? With the process ID of 45, then we give the router ID of let's say 4.3.2.1, okay? Anything that you like that can suit the router ID, then you advertise the network. So the first network that I'll advertise is 200.100.50.0 with a market mask of 0.0.0.255 area 0, okay? Then the second network that I will advertise is this network, which is the network is 192.168.20.0, welcome mask of 0.0.0.255 area 0. Exit and do right. So we're done configuring OSPF there. When you go to this router, we advertise this network and this network. So I do it very fast to save time. So exit router OSPF 45. Router ID to be let's say 5.1.2.4, something like that, okay? Then the network that you want to advertise is like 8.8.8.0 with this welcome mask of 0.0.0.255 area 0. Another network is it's 200.100.50, that one. Exit and do it. So let's wait until they form let's wait until they form neighbors, then we try to ping if we can reach the web server from the inside network. You can see it has formed neighbor with this router, which was having ID of 4321. It was this router, okay? So let's try to ping Google IP address, which is it's ping 8.8.8.8. So it should ping because we have successfully configured OSPF as the routing protocol. Okay, all right, so that's successful. I'll go back to our notepad to check, ping the Google server, test out the path, and check if there are any translations. So I'll skip the trace route, or I just do it very fast. So just say trace route 8.8.8.8. So you see, it first goes to the default gateway, then it goes to the IP address of the next hop, which is the IP address of this interface of the ISP router, then finally to the destination. Then on the notepad side, we're being told to check if there are any translations. So we check translations on the router, not on the computers. Okay, so we just say and then show IP NAT translations. You can see there are no results as per now, okay, because we've not configured NAT. So guys, basically let's embark on configuring NAT. So this is all about creating configuring NAT. So we've been told to create a standard access control list to permit the inside subnet. Okay, all right, so let's just go here and the steps of configuring a dynamic NAT. We need to first, you need to create a standard access control list to permit the inside subnet that you want to translate. So for example, we just say access list, standard access list event 15. Okay, permit the subnet one. The subnet is the subnet here is 192.168.20.0 with the wildcard mask of 0.0.0.255, and you hit enter. Okay, that's all. Then we need to configure dynamic NAT to do many-to-many translation. Remember, in static NAT, it was all about one-to-one. We translate one private IP address into one public IP address. Okay, so in this scenario of dynamic NAT, we're going to translate many-to-many. Okay, we can translate one to many or many-to-many. Okay, all right. So that's what we want to do here. All right. So how do we create? How do we configure NAT, dynamic NAT? We create pools because it's many-to-many. Now we create what's called pools. Okay. So we just say IP NAT inside source. Then let me IP NAT. Then I query. Yes, IP NAT pool. Okay, then when you query, you give the word. Okay, let's say dynamic NAT. I don't want to give it a huge name, DNY dy NAT. Okay, dynamic NAT. Then you try to query. Now you give the start IP address. Okay, I want the pool to contain IP address like 200.100.50.1. Then I query again and IP address to 200.100.50 to 10. Okay, so when you're giving a pool, make sure you use the public IP address, which is here. Okay, all right. So that's my pool. You can see from 50.1 to 50.10. That's where my pools are. Okay, many-to-many. Okay, all right. So from 1 to 10 will be used for translation. Then we query. We give the net mask. Net mask is the subnet mask. Okay, 255.255.255.0. Okay, all of these have a subnet mask of here. Okay, 255, which was here. You can see here. All right, then we just hit enter. All right, so guys, we've created a NAT here, and we've created a access control list here. So we need to bind this NAT with the access control list so that that NAT can use this one. Okay, Alright, so let's do that very fast. When I go back to our notepad, you can see that's what is asked here. Bind ACL to NAT and configure interfaces to use as NAT inside and NAT outside. So we just say IP NAT inside, then we query list IP NAT inside source with query list. The list is access control list, okay? List 15, then I query again. Pool, we give the name of the pool. The name of the pool was this one, dy NAT, okay? And I paste. Then I query again. Then I query again, and I just hit enter, okay? All right. So we did bind the NAT with the access control list, okay? Alright, so it's pretty much simple configuration, guys. I just made it complex because I was trying to query to see the available options. So the first thing was to create the access control list and permit your source, okay? Then you need to create the NAT, okay? Give the name of the NAT, a pool of the NAT, okay? And give the ranges and the net mask, which is the subnet mask. And finally, bind the NAT with the pool, okay? All right. And now what we're gonna do is to configure interfaces as NAT inside and NAT outside. So we have to make sure that this is gig01 is NAT inside, this is gig00 NAT outside. So when I say here interface gig 0/0, just say IP NAT outside, exit. Gig01 IP NAT inside, exit, and do it. So we're done configuring NAT. So when I go back to our notepad, ping again, test out, and check if there are any translation. The first thing I do, I check if there are any translations. Show IP NAT translations. You see, there are no results, okay? All right. So when I go back to this PC here and try to ping, try to press out and also ping, then I go back to this router and do show IP NAT translations. You can see there are some translations that have occurred, okay? You can see they're using that one, 200 150.1, okay? So if I can try to ping from this second PC, ping 8.8.8.8, then I go to check the translation. You can see it will take another number, okay? It will take another number. You see, it has taken 50.2, okay? All right. So thank you so much, guys. I believe this video has really helped you now to configure dynamic NAT. So when we meet next, we're going to do a part which is port address translation, okay? All right. So thank you so much. Please subscribe to this channel, like this video, share with friends, and let me know whether you have any doubt, comment, or suggestion in the comment section. Bye, and see you again in the next class.